Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Taking the Lead. I'm your host, Ken Jacobs. And as you know, even if this is your first time here, on Taking the Lead, we interview great leaders whom I respect, not just as great PR and communications and marketing practitioners, but because of how they lead. So I get to share with you my contacts, my friends who are just great leaders. Let me tell you a bit about today's guest. It's I know your name is Jennifer Curley. My dear friend, whose name I forgot, Jennifer Curley. I just did that to make her laugh. She's the founder and CEO of Curley Company, which has been repeatedly recognized as a top boutique PR agency in North America. That's both from Provoke and PR Week that you all know. Named as one of the fastest growing agencies in the US and globally, a 2020 Woman of the Year by Washington Women in PR, a board member of the Global Women's Innovation Network. We're going to come back to that today. And she just came back from a 2-month sabbatical. She read 20 books, ranging from business to fiction to romance novels. And she's just finished her first book, Playing the Long Game. And she's working on her next book, which may be not a surprise, Why Sabbaticals Are an Important and Overlooked Business Tool. So when I've told you that, I know you all want to hear from Jennifer Curley. So Jennifer, welcome to Taking the Lead.
Well, thanks, Ken. I was, really excited to hear from you and really looking forward to this. I've been following the podcast as you've been doing it, so appreciate this very much.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. So let's dig right in. We've looked at your company website, Curley and Company. You've got a lot of senior execs on your team. I'm just going to guess they are truly leaders in their own right. So what are maybe your top principles about leading leaders?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll do is maybe tell you the story of the sabbatical as a way to kind of describe my leadership strategy. So as you said, I went on sabbatical for 2 months, and it took a lot to do that. And I did it because I believe my first principle is you lead by example. And we've had this sabbatical policy in place for over 5 years, and nobody's ever done it. And I thought, okay, if I'm serious about this as a leader, and I believe this is a good thing to do, then I need to lead by example and do it. And my second reason for doing it was I had promoted Kayan Shaneman to be president of Curley, in the June timeframe. And I thought she's an amazing leader in her own right, but she needs to lead as her. And I wanted to give her the space to do that. So that was really the business reason for taking the sabbatical this summer, was again to lead by example and to let Kayan have the space to do it her own way and not micromanage and really show the trust that I have in her ability to do that. And so far, so good. It worked. And I think the final thing I would say about it is I also wanted to show that you can prioritize the space to be creative. One of the things I did this summer is I gave myself permission to be creative again and to really be okay with not doing the constant do. So I think, back to my 3 reasons, that kind of summed it up with just this most recent example for me on why the sabbatical.
Great. So speaking of Kayan, I'm not going to attempt her last name. Forgive me, Kayan. How hard was it to let go? And how do you keep yourself from being Michael Corleone in Godfather 3, where they keep pulling you back in?
Well, I'll tell you, we should do a whole podcast on this because this is really hard. And I'm just going to say it and, speak my truth here is that this is really hard to do. I think what's worked for us is, we start with really and trust each other, and we have common values. And so when Kayan first came into Curley and we have our values on the wall, and she kind of looked at the wall and she said, this is a place where I want to be. So we're very aligned on big picture fundamentals. But we do this thing we call speak our truth. And I'm going to put that in quotes because it's really important. We say it. We say, I need to speak my truth. And what that really means is I'm going to say something that feels vulnerable. And, for me, it might be something like, this is scary. I don't know. As a leader, to be able to admit you don't know, or you're not sure how this is going to go, what it does is it just helps us realign, show up with a compassion for each other. And just this idea of speaking our truth really helps us do that. The second thing, though, is even more important in my mind. And that is we defined our lanes, and we defined it very clearly from the beginning, and we communicated it both to each other and then to the teams. And our lanes are Kayan is the president. She runs the business, the day-to-day, the clients, the teams. I'm the CEO, and I've got the vision and the strategy in that regard. I oversee the finances and the culture. And then I am supposed to be a thought leader out talking about the business, driving visibility to the brand. So we're clear on that, and we don't always get it right, Ken. And when we do, again, we show up with compassion, speak our truth, and kind of realign. And again, so far so good. It's been 3 or 4 months, and there's no one I'd rather do this with than Ken.
Lovely. So Jennifer, I'm just going to assume that it's speaking our truth, not speaking our truth. Too many people today are putting truth in quotes. And
yeah, right.
I think
exactly. That's it. Right. We'll come back to that.
Too,
yes, exactly. Right.
We've got to be truthful. So
Yeah.
great experience. As we said earlier, you're a board member of the Global Women's Innovation Network. So from that perspective, what do you think the PR and communications industry have to do to get more women into positions of top leadership? Because I think we can all agree there aren't enough. There are a lot of women in the business, but not enough truly in positions of leadership.
Yeah, one of my favorite kind of quotes as I've done some of these leadership roles is, I'm happy to go first, but I'm not going to be last. And I think if we all just kept it in our minds as we navigate the leadership environment for women, it'll go a long way to helping other women sit in the chair, whatever chair that may be. So an example for me is I am going to be the first woman chair of the St. Lawrence University board in June. And about 20 years ago, when I first joined that board, another female trustee said to me, I could see you as the board chair someday. And I thought, it just helps you sit in the chair a little taller and to really socialize that idea. So I think saying it out loud to other women, I can see you sitting in that chair, whatever that chair may be. I can see you as the CEO. Have you thought about applying for that job? That's maybe a little stretch in your mind, but I think, saying it out loud to each other really kind of promotes that idea that you can do it. It's a mentoring tactic, really, is what I would say. So that's, again, one of my ideas, I think. And I guess the second thing I would say is embracing this idea of leading with your feminine values. I do believe women lead differently, and men do too. It's not saying one size fits all on either side. But I do believe the world, and you and I were talking about this a little bit at the beginning, is craving authentic leadership and people showing up as their full selves. And those can be very feminine attributes. And the more we can kind of show that this is our time, our employees need us, our clients need us. And, being a woman leader is an asset right now, in my opinion.
So let me ask a follow-up question, because I agree and respect everything you've said. How do we accelerate it? How do we not just accept this will happen in time?
I think it's choosing it and being intentional about it, Ken. It doesn't happen magically. You have to seek out women and you have to give them the training. You have to, again, do the mentoring. You have to put them in the positions and then let them thrive and embrace their leadership styles and not expect them to fit into a box that's preordained or pre-described. So I think we've all got to get in this together and make it a priority, frankly. And again, by saying it's a priority, you'll do it. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. So what's your counsel to leaders who are leading or trying to lead through what many are calling a time of quiet quitting?
Such an interesting phrase, isn't it? I mean, I think it is very real. Two things I would say that we've done that I think have worked for us. And the first is, as I said, our values are on the wall. And what that really means is our team is not just accountable to me and Kayan as the leaders of the organization, they're really accountable to each other. And it's a lot harder to quit on your colleague versus the company, or the leadership, right? So I think it's really created this kind of culture of accountability to each other. I'll give you one example. We've had unlimited PTO, since like 2017, before it was very trendy to have unlimited PTO. We've been doing this. And one of the things we do that makes it work for us is when you leave on PTO, you send out an email to the entire team. And in it, you say, client X, Joe has got my back, Lydia's got my back, or whoever it is. And you lay out the accountability as to who's got your back when you're gone, what's the expectation. And again, what this does, it reminds you that people have your back, that we're a team, we're in this together, we're collaborating. And it also reminds you that you need to do the same thing for the next person, right? So it's this kind of yin yang of accountability. And it really does seem to work for us. Second thing I think is kind of cool is we have a win board in our office. We've had it for, many, many, many years. And what it does is it brings us together at least once a month. And now we're not in the office every day or even every week, but we do come together once a month. And even during COVID, we did it remotely when we could, where we celebrate each other. And we have an actual board physical where people put up, hey, they shout out to their colleagues. Great placement today. Really proud of the email you sent to that client. It covers the gamut. And when people feel seen and recognized, they feel more connected to the organization, and the praise is real, and they feel that they're contributing to the greater good of the company. So again, I think harder to just shut down and not engage when you're really connected.
Nice.
So just a couple of things that work for us. It's not 100%. And, we're watching it just like everybody else.
Yeah, very valuable. Okay. So in a way, I'm saving the best question for last. You started your career as an aide to one of my political heroes, not one of my heroes, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan of New York. What lessons did you learn from him about leading and inspiring people, which have guided you to this day and which maybe you're using today?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Senator Moynihan has a very famous quote, which I'm sure you've heard, and it's become a little more popular recently, which is, you may be entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And it's, again, one of my favorites, but I also think at the time we're living in right now, this quote has become even more and more important. And we're in the PR business. We are arbitrators of facts. We have an obligation to get this right, in my opinion. And living in DC, and we do mostly public affairs work here, it's getting harder and harder to navigate that because people don't agree on the facts. And I hate it as a societal proof point right now, but I hate it as a leader and as a CEO. And I think, for us, back to running a business during this time, and how I think about using that quote is, again, we put the values on the wall because those are our facts, if you will. Like, that's our kind of baseline. And again, we're communicating, so we're all on the same page, and we have an agreed to kind of set of principles more than facts. But he's still relevant today, Ken. He's really one of my favorites. I was so lucky to start with him, and just, it doesn't get any better than that. And I wish there were more, Daniel Patrick Moynihan's in our public environment right now, leading. I think that he could do a lot of good.
Well, he, in my opinion, and I'm biased, but, he was a statesman. He really was a statesman more than a politician. And I think that would love to see more of that today as well.
Yeah, it's really
This has been so much fun, so enjoyable, so valuable. So thank you, Jennifer Curley. We're looking forward to your next book. And to everyone watching today, thank you so much for watching. If you think you'd be a great guest or know of a great guest for Taking the Lead, please reach out to me, ken@jacobscomm.com. If you have a leadership issue or opportunity where maybe you think I might be able to help you, no obligation, reach out. We'll spend an hour together. Thank you again, Jennifer. And till next time, keep taking the lead.
Thanks, Ken. Great to see you today.